The X3 is one of the most popular crossovers in its segment, and they have been doing this over the last, I would say, over a decade. In fact, I've driven the previous generation quite a lot in different iterations back home in India, and for 2025, BMW has completely updated and revised its most popular offering, the X3. Welcome everybody then to the 2025 BMW X3 30. The 30 is the base model engine, the slowest engine, the most mellowed down consumer friendly version of its popular offering, the X3. Let's see how this revised, updated crossover is. So BMW has completely revised the design. As you can see, this X3 looks completely different. It's got an all new grille, all new headlights, and this is the non-M Sport version, so it's not blacked out. You have all these different design elements, and I think the grille looks a bit too busy for my liking. If you buy the M Sport version, it's all blacked out, so I think that definitely looks better. You do have brushed aluminum surrounds against the grille, and as it is with all new BMWs, you do have a huge grille. I think this is the biggest grille ever on an X3. You do have some bulges on the bonnet, cool little sleek headlights as well. Not too many grills or too many vents on the bottom part of the bumper. It's very clean, very understated design. I think this non-M Sport looks a bit too basic. The M Sport looks a bit more sporty, a bit more aggressive, and that's what I think will sell much more on the roads. In fact, I've been seeing much more of the M Sports on the road, much less of these regular versions of the X3. When you come to the side of the X3 is when you notice that the side profile actually resembles a lot to the first gen X3, and I don't know, that could just be me, but you have that little chink on the C-pillar. All that little elements definitely reminds you of the first gen X3. So they've found a perfect blend of making it look new but still reminding people that yes, this is quite essentially the X3. This car has 18-inch wheels, so this is the winter wheel setup. Otherwise, the X3 comes with 19-inch wheels. I can't complain because this 18-inch has definitely a thicker sidewall, so that definitely helps with better ride quality as well. You do have some sort of cladding on the bottom part of the doors as well because, hey, it is a crossover, right? And crossovers these days need to have cladding to make it look like a rugged vehicle. You do have sort of this brushed aluminum chrome finish around the windows as well because, as I said, this is not an M Sport. So the M Sport would usually have all these elements blacked out. What also makes this vehicle feel a bit too normal, I would say, compared to other crossovers is this paint shade. I think it's a bit too generic. It is a paid option, but I feel like it stands out too much into traffic and it's almost like an NPC spec. I didn't want to say it, but after having lived with this vehicle, I think in much more brighter shades, sporty colors, this vehicle would definitely pop and look much more attractive on the road compared to its rivals. You come to the rear after adoring the side profile and noticing that this is arguably the biggest X3 that I've ever made. In fact, I would even go on to say that this is perhaps almost as big as an older X5, but that's been a trend with all new BMWs. When you come to the rear, you'll notice that this has a huge tailgate. You've got this new sharp LED taillights, which I think look pretty cool, especially at night. The LED pattern really stands out. You've got basic badging on the car, so you have the BMW badge, the X330 and the X-Drive. So you'll notice that it doesn't have an I anymore. That's only reserved for the electric vehicles. All new gas-powered BMWs now only have the numbers in their nomenclature. So you have X330, you have the bigger one, which is called the M50. No more I business over here. You do have a mild spoiler as well. You do have a bit of a cladding on the bottom part of the bumper, and you'll notice that this is a bit simple looking, and that's no bad thing because I do understand many people just want to blend into traffic, just want to have a regular looking car with luxury badges, and I think that is one of their highest selling points. So I do understand there's a crowd for someone who wants a simple looking rear. Personally, for me, I might just opt for the M Sport package because that adds in a lot of sporty elements on the little part of the bumper. You have lots of cuts and creases, you have exhaust tips. So personally for me, I'd probably opt for the M Sport, but I totally understand that there is an audience that wants a simple looking crossover that just does the business well. You can open the huge tailgate and get access to the boot. And as I said, this is the biggest X3 it's ever been, so it does have the biggest boot that an X3 has ever had as well. And this can easily take in all your luggage for your family trips. You can fold the middle row as well from the third row as well. And I would say that it's a good job well done by BMW to make it just that much more practical, because the X3 never had a problem with practicality, but it's always a bonus to have much more space than it ever did. So kudos to BMW for that. I'm now on the inside of the all-new X3. As you can see, it's a traditional new BMW family look that now the X3 also finally gets. So that means you do have this new curved iDrive 8.5 screen, which I'm very accustomed to now, having driven all the latest BMW, which I think is no bad thing. I think the resolution, the touchscreen response is top notch, perhaps the best in its segment. You do have this new ambient lighting with the glass controls for the AC vents that spreads throughout the door, throughout the center console, and I think that looks very. You do have some color options, but overall it really looks fabulous at night. So the older X3 had a coverable storage here, which is now gone. So you have this huge storage with cup holders, wireless chargers, and an extra storage space to keep your passenger's phone. You do have the traditional controls on the center console with the rotary knob, the volume control, and the small little gear lever, if I can say. It's almost like just a switch, but that's again common to all new BMWs. You do have a brand new 2-spoke steering wheel. Initially, I didn't quite like it, but having used it over a week, I do understand that it is very easy to use, and you can particularly get into a very comfortable driving position. You can even hold a driving position like this. I don't recommend that, but it is very easy to get comfortable. You do have the buttons for the audio and for the adaptive cruise control, paddle shifters behind. You do have heads-up display as well, and you do have on the door, as I said, the ambient lighting that spreads on the door. And you have a plastic panel for the lock unlock, the X3 badging, and sort of like this touch response to adjust the fan speed on the vent. There's a bit too much plastic going on in the interior, but it does feel very good. You do have leather at the right places. You do have the big dash with lots of leather, this sort of brushed copper finish around the dashboard. This brown interior I think looks very good. In fact, if I were to buy this car, this might be the interior color I buy it, because I think when the light shines in, it has that right tinge of brown, and at night it mostly looks black, and I think it's very easy to maintain as well. The seats are very nice, electrically controlled. No massage seats, but you do have manual adjustable thigh supports, and you do also have adjustable side contours as well. Overall, I think it's very practical. It's one of the most modern interiors an X3 has ever seen, and that you would expect with its latest model. So kudos to BMW for that. They could have made it feel a bit better for the price point, but I wouldn't say that it's the worst interior in the segment. And overall, you can really feel comfortable and enjoy your time behind the wheel when you're driving this all new crossover. Now in the rear of the X3, and as you can see, space is really not an issue. This is the biggest X3 they've made, and that does translate into rear passenger space. So this driving seat is adjusted for my height. I am 5'8". I have lots of place to tuck in my feet, and I am wearing big boots. If I was wearing sneakers, it would have been even better. Knee room is excellent. They have carved out the front seat, so you are not touching the seat in any way. Headroom is really good. I am, as I said, 5'8", but my head is nowhere near the roof. I think 6-footers will be also easily comfortable, and this does help with the carved out roof for the panoramic glass. So this glass does not open, it's just a glass, but you can cover it with a shade. I think they're doing that with all new BMWs, where they are making the sunroofs an option, and I'm not sure why they're doing that, because I still do appreciate unconventional sunroof. You do have a middle transmission hump, but the third passenger is welcome because there is a headrest, and you can open the center armrest for 2 cup holders if only 2 people are there. No AC controls, temperature or fan speed for the rear passenger, but you do have 2 AC vents, and you can control the airflow, 2 Type-C ports, and a small cubby to put in your phone. One downside is there is no ambient lighting on the rear. So the same pattern on the front door has beautiful glass with ambient lighting, but that does not translate onto the rear. I'm not sure why. That would have really uplifted the rear ambience of the car, especially at night, but I think that's one thing that's sorely missing. You do not have retractable blinds as well, which I think at this price point is expected. But yeah, otherwise seat comfort wise, it's honestly not too bad, and I can see in the back. One party trick is that you do have these slots on the seat that you can mount your iPad. So you have specific mounts where you can mount iPads or different tablets, and that's useful for longer journeys, or especially for kids sitting in the back. It would help keep them distracted on long road trips. But yeah, otherwise I would say that it's actually not that bad place to be. There is, again, as I said, like the front, lots of hard plastics, but overall the ambience is really not that bad, and I do see myself spending long hours in the back of the all new X3. Behind the wheel of the 2025 BMW X3 30. So let's get the numbers out of the way. This still has the B48 2-liter turbocharged gas engine, produces now 255 horsepower, which is a 7 horsepower bump, and about 295 pound-feet of torque, which is about a 35 increase foot-pound torque increase compared to the previous versions of the X3. The engine is on, it's supremely refined, it's still the 4-cylinder. The M50 still gets the B58 6-cylinder with a mild hybrid. So this also now has a mild hybrid, which kind of explains the increase in power figures. Slotted into drive using the gear selector on the bottom, and it sets off. So by default it starts in, like, you know, this comfort mode, and low end torque is so good. It picks up speed really well, and you can be up to speed limits within city or highway very easily, and it's very nice, very easy, very calm crossover to drive. And yes, this is in its most relaxed setting. You can go into efficient mode, which then further makes the whole vehicle much more lazy, but that's a driving mode I usually prefer when I'm cruising on, you know, straight highways. Otherwise, again, as I said, it's very composed. Body roll is very minimum, and there is a sport mode, so I can activate sport mode, and that also deactivates the traction control by 1 level. But yeah, there's more pumped in noise as well. In sport mode you can very evidently hear it. But yeah, it's still, I think, one of the best driving crossovers in its segment by a country mile. I don't know how BMW does it. They just nail the driving dynamics of every SUV they make, and this X3 is no different. It's holding gears and it's very fast. It's fast. Like, this B48 engine is more than sufficient, and I would say 98% of regular driving situations. If you're the true-blooded enthusiast, yes, you definitely want the B58, but for regular driving, this B48 more than suffices in anything you would ever need while driving this SUV. That's the beauty, and that's what I love about BMW. They've made this sort of this base model X3 so desirable, so fun to drive, that you might never need to upgrade to the bigger M50. And for that, I mean, this is all you need. The M50 is something you would maybe want as an extra. If I put it back into personal mode, which is like the comfort mode, the you know, the fake engine noises through the speaker kind of dies down. It becomes extremely quiet, and you can cruise very effortlessly. This car has the optional adaptive cruise, so once you set the adaptive cruise and just let the car do its thing, you can munch a lot of kilometers with utmost ease. Fuel economy is also very decent. On the highway you can get a very cool 7.5 liters per 100, which I think is supremely commendable. On the city, I've been getting combined about 10ish. My MID actually just shows exactly 10, which I think is not too bad of a vehicle of something that does not have a center of gravity of a sedan. So I think that's also very commendable, and that's what BMWs have been doing for a very long time. So overall, the driving dynamics and everything this X3 has to provide is fabulous. The previous X3 was also fabulous to drive, and this new one is no different. I still think this is the best driving SUV in its segment. In conclusion then, the 2025 BMW X3 30. Honestly, having driven its past iterations, it's one of my favorite crossovers. So does this new one still impress me? Honestly, for driving dynamics, I think this is still by far the best driving crossover in its segment. Nothing can even come close. But that's something you would expect with a BMW, and they are always known to be the ultimate driving machine, and they do translate that in their crossover somehow as well. Being the all-new one, it's the biggest X3 they've ever made, so that does translate into excellent cabin space for the front, the back, and the luggage. So that again solves out another important requirement for a customer in its segment. I think the looks Well, that has people divided. Some people I know have liked it, some haven't. Personally, I think it looks okay. There is room for improvement, and as I said, you can opt for the M Sport package, and I think that does make this vehicle look way better. Honestly, if I were to buy this vehicle, that M Sport package is a no-brainer for me. Other aspects, this crossover does things really well. I think it's got all the tech, it's got features, and also I think it's priced really well. So this very vehicle is about $65,000 Canadian, which I think is excellent value. It does have some options. So the base X3 starts at about, I would say, 59,000. This does have the premium package, that is the adaptive cruise, lots of different tech features. All that added is about 65,000, and I think that's pretty good value, because for that kind of money you have a crossover that drives really well, extremely spacious. You do have the BMW snob value badge as well, and it's pretty reliable. This engine hardly goes wrong. If you do go on the forums, you do have people who have clocked in a lot of kilometers with hassle-free motoring ownership experience. Honestly, BMW didn't have to make too much changes to the previous X3, just had to make it look much more updated, which they have. And honestly, if I were in the market to buy one, the X3 still might just be my go-to choice.